guys, welcome back to T-Bone Southern Ride as we present the rocking, shocking October of motos and mayhem. As we're going down the road at half the speed we need, and it is the return of the Honda, the return of the Shadow, the return of the Punisher, the Hick from French Lick. Tell you what, guys, just real quick before we get started here, the Hick from French Lick. Just a little trivia, sports trivia there. I'm not going to tell you right now who it is or what sport they played, but what athlete, and don't Google it, what athlete was called the Hick from French Lick? If you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'll tell you. But a beautiful October evening on the return of the 750, the little Honda Shadow. Of course, it's set on the sidelines for a few weeks. Kept getting the wrong solenoid for it, so finally Milkman got us the right solenoid ordered up for it. And man, I tell you, I have missed this little bike, guys. This is a fun little bike, my little off-road bike. So it's been a while, but it's finally making its return to the Southern Ride. The Punisher, the Hick from French Lick. And the reason I call this the Hick is because if the Harley Davidsons, if Big Papa and the Blue Moon are dressed up, sparkling jewels, wearing their crowns, if they are kings among the Southern Ride, then this is the dude that shows up wearing the sweatpants, sweatshirt, smoking a Marlboro, talking about what's up. The Hick from French Lick, the Punisher. Alright guys, as we keep rocking and rolling right on through the rocking, shocking October of motos and mayhem, we land in the year 1939, guys. We've had the motos part of this countdown, or this, not a countdown, but of these video series that we're doing for Halloween. And today we're going to have the mayhem part. And I am, of course, talking about the old standard, the old go-to holiday movie, The Wizard of Oz. I know some of y'all just got up, looked at your computer and said, what in God's name is he talking about? Guys, The Wizard of Oz is, yes, in fact, a Halloween movie. And yes, it is considered a fantasy horror movie, believe it or not. That's how it's listed. Of course, I don't think that there's a person on this planet that has never at least heard of The Wizard of Oz. Of course, several years after the original Wizard of Oz, there was knockoff versions. One was called The Return to Oz. And then more recently, Disney put out a movie I thought was great. It was a fun movie to watch. Was Oz the Great and Powerful that had Franco in it. James Franco, I think, was the one who was in it. But nonetheless, we're talking about the original Frank L. Baum 1939 version of The Wizard of Oz. And of course, we're talking about the lovely Miss Judy Garland, who played Dorothy Gale in the series, or in the movie. She was only in that one movie. Of course, Judy Garland was at that time America's sweetheart. And, you know, Judy Garland gets lost in the mix sometimes, guys, because Judy Garland existed at a time when Hollywood land, as they called it then, was filled to the brim with starlets and divas. The likes of Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, Jane Mansfield, Lucille Ball. I mean, there was beautiful women all in Hollywood. And believe me when I tell you guys, Judy Garland stood right in there and held her own with all these beautiful A-list actresses at the time in Hollywood. And when you're when you're able to stand with your head held high against Joan Crawford and Bette Davis and Lucille Ball, and if you've ever watched the 1943 movie made by Howard Hughes called The Outlaw, and I've done forgot her name that quick, Google that. But the lady who played in that movie, and I might remember her name before I'm done shooting, so if you hear me just spout out a random name, it's not Tourette's, it just means I remembered the name. But she was considered one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, period. Her picture was on posters hanging up in guys' houses. But nonetheless, getting away from The Wizard of Oz, we get back to it. Of course, the late and very great actress, Miss Margaret Hamilton, played the Wicked Witch and gave all of us kids who ever watched it, and of course, I watched it in the 80s, and kids my age were introduced to The Wizard of Oz in the 1980s. It was new to us, and it had that opening monologue that said, for 40 years, this story has delighted countless generations, or something to that effect. And I got to be honest with you guys, as a kid, and I say as a kid, even today, I still love to watch The Wizard of Oz. I have it on DVD. It's either Netflix or maybe HBO Max. One of those two streaming services has The Wizard of Oz right now, and they'll carry it through the first of the year, through New Year's, because not only is it a fantasy horror, it gets a lot of play during Thanksgiving, it gets a lot of play during Christmas and New Year's, and that's because it's one of America's most beloved iconic movies, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, you could be living on a desert island and there's grass all in that lane right there if you wonder why I'm on the wrong side of the road. I hate when people blow grass out into the middle of the road. Don't be that person, guys. But nonetheless, excuse me, please. I'm sorry. But to stand the test of time from 1939 till today, The Wizard of Oz is the movie that has stood the test of time. There's no doubt about that. Is it one of the most popular movies? Absolutely. It was considered America's movie, The Wizard of Oz was. And of course, Judy Garland was considered America's sweetheart. Every young American male fell in love with Judy Garland as a kid. I did. I thought she was beautiful. And in that scene where she steps out of her house into the land of Oz and they go to color, her eyes are just so beautiful. But of course now, like I say, you got Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch. And Margaret Hamilton, guys, if you ever want to Google any of these characters, you find out that they had amazing careers. Amazing careers, because you had an all-star cast in that movie. Buddy Ebsen, who played Uncle Jed on the Beverly Hillbillies, he was in The Wizard of Oz. He was the Winky guard who gave Dorothy the broom when she melted the Wicked Witch. Jack Haley played the Tin Man, and of course the horror stories that came out of it, though. And Judy Garland, early in her career, was afraid that The Wizard of Oz had typecasted her, and she went off on a tirade that the movie had ruined her career. And of course, all of the actors you would hear about the horror stories, which could land this movie on this list just with the horror stories that the actors told. Of course, Judy Garland saying that she felt it ruined her career to an extent. And of course, the guy who played, I can't remember their names, I did know them, but the guy who played the Cowardly Lion, he actually passed out 3 or 4 different times from heat exhaustion from the suit that he was in. The Scarecrow, all of the hay that they had against him, it was irritating him and breaking him out and causing his body to swell. And the guy, and Jack Haley, of course, playing the Tin Man, the paint that they used to paint his skin to match the tin caused him to have scars. After it was over, he had scars on his body from the paint. So I mean, just from that, and of course Margaret Hamilton had told a few stories about wearing the green paint as the Wicked Witch, about what it had done to her. So I said all that to make this point, that even with all of the horror stories that the cast had, they put all that aside and they came together and made one of the most iconic movies in American cinema, in American history. Of course, The Wizard of Oz, I don't think personally, and I could be wrong, and I hope this never happens. I hope that our society never gets to a point to where they can't sit down and enjoy the story of The Wizard of Oz. I hope that our society never gets to that point, because it really is a great movie. It really is. And you think about the time that the movie was made. You know, it was made without CGI. It was made without a big budget. I mean, we're talking about a movie that looked amazing, and it was made in 1939. And that fact alone, in my mind, puts it on this list. And again, like I said, I hope that our society never reaches the point to where it can't sit down, no matter how busy we are in our lives. I hope that our society never reaches the point to where you can't sit down, or you're too big, or you're too fast to actually sit down and enjoy The Wizard of Oz. And if there's, by some chance, you're a younger person and you have never watched The Wizard of Oz, please talk to Mom, Dad, Grandpa, Grandma, whoever. Talk to them about letting you watch The Wizard of Oz. Or if, you know, it's a family movie. It is listed as fantasy horror, but it's a family movie. Sit down and give it a look. A very great story. And of course, now when you talk about The Wizard of Oz, and you talk about its writer, Frank L. Baum, who wrote a series called the Oz series. It wasn't just that one movie, I mean, or that one book that he wrote, The Wizard of Oz, because the Oz the Great and Powerful, the Lion of Oz, the Tin Man of Oz, the Scarecrow of Oz. He went on to tell another story about Dorothy going back. Not long after the original movie happened, and not long after the original book happened, Dorothy actually had to go back to Oz. But that's a whole nother story. But the original Wizard of Oz, guys, makes it on the rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem, simply because it is an iconic movie. And I have no regrets about that. I have no regrets with saying that this movie deserves to be on this list, because I kind of waffled on the idea for just a little while. With everything else that I put out that you guys have seen, would you warm up to The Wizard of Oz as a Halloween movie? And I'm not going to lie, guys, I watched it last week. Either last week or the week before. I was on, and like I said, it's either Netflix or Disney Plus. I was on one of the streaming services, and it was there, and I just clicked on it and watched it out of pure habit and out of pure love for the story. I clicked on it and watched it. But with that being said, guys, check out The Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz. And man, we are rocking on through October, guys. We are getting close to Halloween. And of course, Stephen King has made several different appearances on this list. One being The Graveyard Shift, the other one being Dr. Sleep. And I think there was one more movie of Stephen King's that's on this list. I don't know. I'd actually have to go look. I'm starting to lose track. But I know Beetlejuice was supposed to come out as a third video, but we're having technical difficulties with that video. And it may just end in me and R1 having to just sit down, take a moment, and reshoot everything. But, so I'm not sure exactly when Beetlejuice is going to hit. But keep your eyes open for that one. And remember, guys, keep it in mind now, October the 31st, Halloween Day, I'm going to release 4 videos that day. 4 movies, 1 writer, director, creator. Who do you think it's going to be? October the 31st is going to belong to, will it be Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, Wes Craven? Who do you think that it will be? Who will own Halloween Day on T-Bone Southern Ride presents the rocking, shocking October of Motos and Mayhem? I promise you it's going to come out of the left field. And when it does, you'll hit your forehead and say, well, duh. But, tell you what, guys, I'm enjoying this weather, and of course, our temperatures have dipped a little bit. We're starting to get a little cooler. Of course, I'm out here in short sleeves, which I'm not cold right now, but I had thought about that about the opening of this video. I thought, well, maybe I should have put on a light jacket, but nonetheless, I'm a soldier of fortune or misfortune, whichever one you want to call it. But I just had to get the hick from French Lick out. Had to give the Punisher a little exercise. It's been sitting, and it bothers me when one of my motorcycles has to sit. And this one's been sitting for too long, so I love this little bike, guys. This is just a fun little bike. So, trivia time. In the beginning of this video, I called the Punisher the 750 Honda Shadow Spirit. I called this bike the Hick from French Lick. Which athlete did I name this motorcycle after? Did you guess it, or did you have to go Google it for yourself? If you made it this far, give me a thumbs up and let me know that you made it this far as I reveal who the Hick from French Lick is. Drum roll, it's none other than the living legend, number 33 of the Boston Celtics, Mr. Larry Bird. Mr. Larry Bird is one of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game, in my opinion. And yes, he was called the Hick from French Lick, which is a moniker I don't think ever really bothered him. And of course, you can go on YouTube and watch videos of other NBA players such as Michael Jordan, you know, Charles Barkley, just a ton of other guys will tell you that in the world of basketball, Larry Bird was a beast. And he was a student of his craft. He could pass behind his head. He was a very, very clutch player. Which means when it came down to crunch time, win or lose, if Larry got the ball, more times than not, he won. Of course, Larry won championships as a ball player, won championships as a coach, and won championships as a executive. So what that tells you is he was well-rounded. He had a business mind. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to call my bike the Hick from French Lick, after what I feel quite possibly could be one of the most dominating ball players, especially in the 1980s, Mr. Larry Bird, the Hick from French Lick. But go check out his videos. Watch The Wizard of Oz if you haven't. If you have, revisit it for the holiday season. And the great thing about The Wizard of Oz, guys, you don't have to watch it at Halloween. You can watch it for Christmas. And that's usually when, Turner Broadcasting or Turner Classics or somebody will pick up The Wizard of Oz and they will play it for Christmas. And they'll play it at nauseum. But there it is, guys. Another video down in T-Bone's Southern Ride Presents Rocking, Shocking October of Motos and Mayhem. Remember to like, comment, and share, guys. Like these videos. That helps put it in the algorithm. If you're over on YouTube, remember to click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you can be notified every single time that T-Bone Southern Ride drops a new video. And find us on Instagram, guys, at T-Bones_Southern_Ride, because I always post there first when I'm getting ready to drop a new video. The guys and gals who follow me on Instagram know about it first. But guys, remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until the next time, I'm T-Bone, and this has been the Southern Ride.